Becoming the Man, Chapter 12. They Share a Beer. Darius, having skipped his job interview, allowed Mr. White to leave the office early. Him and Paul would continue with their villainous work tomorrow. Training Paul brought back the earliest moments of Mr. White being the man. He thought about his ex-wife and wondered what would have been as he tried to remember how it felt to be the self that he once was. That person was so young and naive, and that person truly wanted to do the right thing, but as fate would have it, never got the chance to. It had been years since Mr. White had a drink in public, preferring to drink alone when he got the taste. Today he felt he needed to transition himself back into society. He had to stop thinking like he was the man and start thinking like he was a man. He parallel parked at the first little bar he saw in a neighborhood that seemed to have one on every other corner. Mr. White sat at the only open bar stool in the little corner dive that held maybe 12 people in total. He ordered a shot of whiskey and a German beer to chase it down. He kept to himself as he reflected on his career and the future that was before him. The bartender attempted to make small talk, but each time he steered the conversation in a direction that led to a dead end. He noticed he was the only white man in the place, but it was still early enough where he wasn't too worried about it. He didn't plan on staying long. All of the sudden, he felt a tap on the shoulder. "Hey, man. Hey. Hey, man. Hey. Let me tell you something, buddy. The man is holding me back," said the man next to him with a drunken slur. He continued, "Can you imagine that? The man is holding me back. It doesn't matter what I do. It's like he's got this camera on me or something. It's like, oh man, I don't fucking know. I'm just a black man trying to get ahead in the world." The man let out a high-pitched maniacal laugh. He kept talking to Mr. White with his arm around his shoulder. "How rude of me. You have to excuse me. I've been here for a while, and usually, I don't know, I'm more about power to the people, more of a Malcolm X than a Booker T, you know what I mean?" He laughed again and continued. "Anyway, my name is Darius Curtis, a black man trying to make it in a white world, your world." Mr. White sat in amazement. There was no way this was happening. He was staring at the result of his last 3 weeks of work. He was looking into the eyes that embodied his whole career. While this man thought he was just drunk and humoring himself about his recent misfortunes, he was actually in the presence of the man. Not only the theoretically invisible man, but the actual man who personally sent his life spiraling. The irony was too much for Mr. White, and he shook his head in disbelief. He ordered 2 double shots of whiskey and slid one over to his newly found associate, Darius. Mr. White said, "Hey, don't be so hard on yourself, son. You'll get ahead. I'm sure your misfortunes are temporary. That's what life is all about. Don't worry, son. You take this shot here with me, and tomorrow you wake up and you stick it to the man. So here's to you, Darius, and here's to your future. And believe me, I believe you, brother." The sincerity in Mr. White's voice made Darius's demeanor change. It was almost as if he sobered up. He stared at Mr. White suspiciously, even as he took the double shot of whiskey. Mr. White had talked to him with a strange familiarity, and out of all the people he had blabbed about his problems to, Mr. White seemed to be the only one to take him serious. The whiskey and the beer made Mr. White's insides warm up as he told Darius, like he was the father the young black man never knew, "Hey kid, make sure you get home safe. These police around here have it out for young brothers like you. You have to be very careful. It only takes one bad choice and it all goes downhill. You should stay away from all of this because you were on the right path all along. And when it comes to that man thing, trust me, if anyone believes you, it's me. If anyone believes you, it's me." Darius looked at him as an alcohol-induced tear formed in his eye. He then said, "Thank you, sir. Thank you for the shot." "Stick it to the man, huh?" Mr. White replied, "Stick it to the man, son." He took care of Darius's tab as well as his own, patted the young man on the shoulder, and they both left the bar, headed in 2 very separate directions.